The man standing outside the house looked like he had seen a ghost. Because 5 years ago, everyone at Cedar Ridge Estates attended a meeting where the HOA president claimed he was probably dead. Now he was back, alive, and strangers were eating dinner inside his house. Rain clouds rolled over the neighborhood as the black SUV stopped beside the curb. The engine shut off. For a few seconds, nobody moved. Then the driver's door slowly opened. A tall man stepped out wearing a dark jacket covered in travel dust. His beard was uneven, his face exhausted, but his eyes stayed locked on the 2-story cedar home across the street. His home, the same house he built with his father 15 years earlier. But something was wrong. The porch lights were different. The windows were replaced. The garden stones were gone, and there was a child's bicycle lying near the driveway. Elias Vance felt his chest tighten. Someone was living in his house. Across the street, a woman watering flowers suddenly froze. The hose slipped from her hand. Water splashed across the sidewalk as panic spread across her face. Because she recognized him immediately. Darlene Mercer, HOA president. The woman who spent 5 years convincing everyone Elias would never return. For a second, neither of them spoke. The entire street felt silent. Then Elias started walking toward the property slowly. Every step made Darlene more nervous. No. This wasn't possible. Elias disappeared overseas 5 years ago without warning. No calls, no emails, nothing. People searched for months. Then eventually life moved on. But Darlene never moved on. She took advantage of it. And now the man she stole from was standing 10 feet away from her. Alive. A curtain moved nearby. Then another. Neighbors had started watching. Everyone in Cedar Ridge Estates feared Darlene Mercer. She fined residents over garbage bins, threatened families over lawn decorations. Once she even forced an elderly widow to repaint her fence because the shade of white violated community standards. Nobody challenged her anymore. Not after she became HOA president. And when Elias vanished, she saw the perfect opportunity. At first, she claimed the abandoned house lowered neighborhood value. Then she convinced the HOA board to let her maintain the property temporarily. A month later, she changed the locks. 6 months later, movers arrived. And within a year, complete strangers were living inside Elias Vance's home while Darlene quietly collected cash payments every month. No legal ownership, no court approval, nothing, just lies. Now, those lies were collapsing in front of the entire neighborhood. Elias stopped near the mailbox. His name was still on it. Elias Vance. He touched the faded letters slowly, like he was proving to himself this was real. Then he finally looked at Darlene. "You changed my house." His voice was calm. Too calm. Darlene forced an awkward smile. "Elias, oh my God." She laughed nervously. "People thought you were dead." Elias stared at her without blinking. Did they? That single sentence made her stomach twist. More neighbors stepped outside, pretending to check mail or walk dogs. Everyone sensed something huge was happening. Elias looked back toward the house. Warm yellow light glowed through the living room window. He could hear people laughing inside. Strangers. Inside his home. Then the front door suddenly opened. A man carrying grocery bags stepped onto the porch. Behind him came a woman and a little girl holding a stuffed rabbit. They stopped immediately after seeing Elias standing near the driveway. The husband looked confused. "Can we help you?" Elias didn't answer right away. His eyes moved past them into the house interior. The walls had different paint. The staircase railing was replaced. Even his father's antique hallway clock was missing. 5 years of memories erased. Finally, Elias spoke quietly. "This is my house." The couple looked shocked. Slowly, both turned toward Darlene. And for the first time in years, the HOA president looked genuinely afraid. Darlene stepped forward quickly. "Elias, listen. These people legally rent this property." "From who?" he asked. "The HOA had temporary authority after you disappeared." "That's interesting." He reached into his jacket pocket calmly, then pulled out a small silver key. "I never gave the HOA permission to touch my property." The husband's face lost color. "You told us the owner died," he said to Darlene quietly. Nobody on the street moved. Darlene opened her mouth. But no words came out. Elias walked past everyone toward the side garage. His hands trembled slightly as he inserted the silver key into the old lock. Click! The garage door unlocked instantly. Gasps spread across nearby porches. Because dead men don't carry house keys. Elias slowly lifted the garage door halfway. Dust floated through the air. Most shelves were empty, but hidden beneath a gray tarp in the back corner sat something untouched. A large steel chest, and the second Darlene saw it, her face turned completely pale, because inside that chest was the one thing she prayed Elias would never find. Darlene's heart nearly stopped the moment Elias dragged the steel chest into the garage light, because she already knew what was inside. Proof. Proof that could destroy everything she built over the last 5 years. The neighborhood stood frozen across the street, watching silently. Nobody even pretended to hide anymore. People were recording from windows, standing on porches, whispering nervously, because for the first time ever, someone had finally cornered Darlene Mercer. Elias knelt beside the steel chest slowly. The metal surface was covered in dust, but the lock remained untouched. Darlene felt panic rising in her throat. She took a step forward quickly. Elias, maybe we should discuss this privately. He ignored her. Then from his pocket, he removed another key, smaller, older. His hand paused for 1 second before sliding it into the lock. Click! The chest opened. Inside sat several sealed folders wrapped carefully in plastic. Property deeds, tax documents, insurance papers, international passport records. Everything proving the house legally belonged to Elias Vance. But that wasn't the worst part. At the very bottom sat 3 black hard drives. The second Darlene saw them. All color disappeared from her face, because she remembered those cameras. Years ago, Elias installed a hidden security system after repeated arguments with the HOA over trespassing complaints. Most cameras were removed after he disappeared, but apparently, not all of them. Elias lifted one hard drive carefully, then looked directly at Darlene. You enter my property a total of 76 times after I vanished. The street went silent. Darlene forced a laugh. That's ridiculous. Elias nodded slowly. Good. Then you won't mind watching this with everyone else. He connected the drive to an old laptop sitting inside the chest. The screen flickered on. Then footage appeared. Time-stamped. Crystal clear. The first video showed Darlene standing outside the house only 3 weeks after Elias disappeared. She was speaking with 2 contractors. Change every lock, she told them casually. If anyone asked questions, the HOA approved it. Murmurs spread through the neighborhood. Darlene crossed her arms tightly. That proves nothing. The property was abandoned. Elias clicked another file. This time the footage showed movers carrying furniture out of the house. His father's leather chair, his mother's paintings, boxes from the upstairs office. Then Darlene's voice echoed through the garage speakers. Sell whatever looks valuable. A woman across the street whispered, "Oh my God." Darlene immediately pointed toward Elias. You disappeared for 5 years. People thought you were dead. And who started that rumor? Elias asked calmly. She said nothing. Elias opened another video. This one was worse. Much worse. Darlene stood inside the kitchen, talking to a local property investor. If the owner magically comes back someday, she joked, I'll be dead before court finishes the paperwork. A few neighbors actually stepped backward after hearing it. The young couple renting the house looked horrified. The wife turned toward Darlene slowly. You told us this property was legally transferred. Darlene snapped instantly. It would have been eventually. The moment those words came out, she realized her mistake. Complete silence hit the street. Even the little girl holding the stuffed rabbit looked nervous. Elias closed the laptop quietly. Then he stood up. For the first time since arriving home, anger finally appeared on his face. You stole my house. Darlene tried recovering quickly. I protected this neighborhood while you vanished. No, Elias replied coldly. You saw an opportunity. The sound of engines suddenly echoed near the entrance of Cedar Ridge Estates. 2 sheriff SUVs turned onto the street. Right behind them came a county property investigator's vehicle. Darlene's breathing became uneven. No. One deputy stepped out holding paperwork. Darlene Mercer? She forced confidence into her voice. Yes. We received evidence involving illegal property occupation, fraud, unlawful rental activity, and document manipulation. Several neighbors gasped loudly. The deputy continued. We're also investigating missing property connected to this residence. Darlene looked around desperately. Nobody defended her. Not one person. Because everyone finally understood the truth. The HOA president they feared for years was nothing more than a thief. The deputy stepped closer. We'll need you to come with us. Darlene pointed toward Elias angrily. He disappeared. Nobody knew if he was alive. Elias stared at her quietly. I came back the second I could. That sentence hit harder than yelling ever could. Darlene's shoulders slowly dropped. The fight left her face completely. Meanwhile, the young couple quietly gathered their belongings from inside the house. The husband stopped beside Elias awkwardly. We're sorry, we truly didn't know. Elias nodded once. I know. As deputies escorted Darlene toward the patrol vehicle, neighbors watched silently from every porch on the street. The same woman who once controlled everyone with fear couldn't even look up anymore. Before entering the SUV, she turned back toward the house one final time. But it was no longer hers to control. It never was. Hours later, sunset covered Cedar Ridge Estates in orange light. The moving trucks were gone. The street finally felt quiet again. Elias stood alone on the front porch holding his old house key. The same key Darlene thought would never be used again. Inside the house, most of his memories were missing. Furniture gone. Walls changed. Pictures erased. But one thing remained untouched. Home. And after 5 years of being lost, trapped, and forgotten by the world, Elias Vance had finally come back alive.